Today, we're talking about a way to teach reading that's, well, it's kind of magic. It goes way beyond just staring at a page. We're going to get into how a child's hands, their voice, their whole body can be the key to making reading finally click. If you've ever taught a child to read, you know this moment. The frustration, right? The blank stares, and then suddenly that little spark of a breakthrough. This quote from educator Sean David Taylor just nails it. It's that exact instant when a letter stops being some weird, abstract squiggle and becomes something real, something the child can actually feel and own. So let's just sit with that idea for a second. What if we could get around all that frustration by just starting somewhere totally different? What if the real key to unlocking reading isn't just in their eyes, but in their fingertips, in their own voice, and in the big sweep of an arm? That's the big question we are digging into today. Now, this isn't some new age trick or a fad. This is applied neuroscience, It's been used by master teachers for over 100 years, from Maria Montessori to Orton and Gillingham. The idea behind it is actually super simple. Your body is the brain's very first classroom. We're just tapping into the way the brain was built to learn in the first place. And this right here, this is the whole concept in a nutshell. We're not trying to add more stuff to do. We're not making it more complicated. We're taking one single concept, like the letter S, and we're making that learning experience 3 times deeper. We're basically telling the brain about S through 3 different channels at the exact same time. The memory just becomes so much stronger, so much more sticky. Okay, so how do we do this in a systematic way? Well, the method often goes by the name AVKT instruction, and it all comes down to these 4 main learning channels. You can think of them like 4 different highways all leading to the same spot in the brain. And here they are. You've got auditory, which is what the child hears, like saying S is for snake. You've got visual, which is what they see. Then there's kinesthetic, which is all about big body movements. And finally, tactile, that critical sense of touch. Now, each one is good on its own, but when you combine them, when a child traces a letter while saying its sound, man, that is so much more powerful than just looking at a worksheet. And here's the best part. You do not need a bunch of expensive equipment to get started. Let's look at a few super simple but incredibly powerful tools that you can start using like today. First up is the sand tray. I'm telling you, this might be one of the most powerful literacy tools you can have. And it can be as simple as a baking pan with a little bit of salt or sand in it. But the real genius here, it completely removes the fear of making a mistake. The whole process is just so low stakes, it's brilliant. The child looks at a letter, they trace it in the sand with their fingers, and they say the sound while they do it. And if it's not quite right, who cares? A gentle shake, and poof, the slate is wiped clean. This means they can practice over and over and over without any anxiety, building that muscle memory right into their hand. All right, next up is skywriting. This takes the learning from just the fingertips to the entire arm. We're talking big, sweeping motions, writing letters in the air. And get this, neuroscience actually tells us that these big motions, using our gross motor skills, create much stronger initial memory trails in the brain. And the sequence for this is just beautiful. First, you show them how. Then, you do it together. Then they try it on their own. But that last step, that's the real test. They write it with their eyes closed. This forces the brain to forget about sight and rely completely on that motor memory. They are literally feeling the shape of the letter in their own body. So we've got the shapes of the letters covered. But what about the sounds inside the words? That's where something called phoneme tapping comes in. It's a physical, touch-based way to make those individual sounds, or phonemes, feel real and countable. The hands are basically making the invisible structure of our language visible. Here's a quick look at how it works. For a simple word like cat, you tap your thumb for the k sound, your index finger for a, and your middle finger for t. 3 sounds, 3 taps. Simple. But here is where it gets really smart. Look at the word ship. The S and H work together to make one sound, sh, so that sound only gets 1 tap. This makes a really tricky phonics rule feel totally simple and intuitive. So all of this, it feels right, doesn't it? It just kind of makes sense. But I know what you might be thinking. Is this all just a nice idea, or is there any hard science that actually backs this stuff up? Well, let's pivot from the how and take a look at the why. The answer to that question is a huge, resounding yes. These techniques are totally grounded in what we know about how the human brain learns and stores information. This isn't just a collection of nice classroom activities. It's a full-on brain-based strategy. At the core of all this is a concept called the dual coding effect. Here's the simple version. When you learn something through both your eyes and your hands, your brain stores that memory in two different places. It's like having a backup file for every single letter. If one pathway to that memory is a little weak, the brain can just use the other one to pull it up. It's brilliant. And we've got the research to prove it. This study from 2012 by neuroscientist Corinne James showed that the physical act of forming a letter with your hand, not typing it, but writing it, activates way more robust regions of the brain. The act of writing literally builds a stronger connection between the letter's shape, its sound, and the motor plan your brain needs to make it. That's exactly what we're doing with sand trays and skywriting. Okay, enough theory. How do you actually put this into practice? The great news is you don't have to overhaul your entire day. It's more about weaving these simple, powerful practices into the rhythm you already have. Seriously, here are 5 super simple things you can start tomorrow. Make a sand tray. It takes 2 minutes. Start doing skywriting for every new letter you introduce. Tap out the sounds and words. Learn one fun phonics chant, and when you're reading aloud, just give the child something to do with their hands, like playing with clay or beads. That's it. These small changes can lead to massive breakthroughs. And we'll end with this thought. Long before we had written words, we had touch. By teaching through the hands, we're not just teaching a skill, we're tapping into a deep, primal way of learning. We're remembering that the body already knows so much of what the page is just trying to explain. And maybe, just maybe, this simple shift is the key we've all been looking for.